Hey, gorgeous. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome to my world. My name is Farrah LeRae. Today, we are going to talk about starting over in your 30s, particularly things that no one tells you. So let's get right into it. You thought of me, love me, since you're almost on to die. Just so I realize. My goal today is to share the realities of growing up, aging, if you will, and encourage someone who feels like they're behind or afraid to start over or at that crossroad where you kind of have to. I want to give you some advice and some wisdom on things that I've learned down through the years of my life. I literally turned 31 yesterday, which is insane. Growing up, I never, I didn't understand, but very thoroughly respected people's disdain for aging and growing up. And even still, a lot of people, once they get over the hill, they're still like, I'm 21. I get it. But in the same token, I think it's important to embrace, as we're growing up and developing in life, crossing over these new milestones. When you think about, I'm a Christian, so a lot of my perception is I try to allow to be derived from the Word of God. When you look through the Word of God, most of the people in the Bible were old. They were not young, okay? They got married young, a lot of them. Not everybody, but a lot of them did get married young. But for the most part, most ministries didn't start, most legacies didn't start until years and years and years and years later. So I want us to learn to embrace aging. As we kind of dive into this conversation, I'm going to be very transparent with you about some of the things that I've learned and experienced. But I want us to do our best to appreciate aging and growing and, getting to those milestones in our life and not being so obsessed with the past and what has come and gone already, but embrace our future. My dad says, embrace your future with vision and hope. If you would have told 14-year-old me what my life would be today, she would not believe you. She'd call you a liar. She'd probably rebuke you. She would say, get thee behind me, Satan. Because a lot of what I've experienced was not at all what I thought it would be. A lot of things did happen the way that I thought, which are surprisingly, and those things are great. And I thank God for that. But there are so many things that have happened in my life that when I look back, I'm like, bruv, you couldn't have told me, especially with the way I tried to live my life in such a way that it was very cookie cutter. I lived my life very algorithmically, if you will. If this, then that. So the way the algorithm works is if somebody likes this post, now we're going to feed them this content. Or if they stay and watch this piece of content for a long time, then we're going to start feeding them this type of content. And so the way that I lived my life was, okay, if I stay focused and get good grades, I'm going to graduate, right? Okay, cool. If I do what God has given me to do, then I'm going to have a thriving ministry, okay? If I save myself until marriage, my husband's going to be eternally grateful and we're going to live happily ever after, okay? So all of the things that I was doing in my life were designed in such a way that if this, then that. And 9 times out of 10, honey, none of it went according to plan. Like I said, there are a lot of things that I'm so grateful to God, but those were things that He showed me, promises that He made, not things that I determined were going to be the way my life was mapped out. So let's talk about it. The first thing I want to talk about is when I turned 30, okay? We're talking a year from where we sit today, a year ago from where we sit today. So first of all, what I thought 30 would look like growing up, I think a lot of us had that 13 going on 30, we grew up in that era and we really thought that, once you turn 30, you're going to have the car, the house, the relationship, everything's going to be perfect. You're going to have already discovered your career path. And that's true for a lot of people, but it's becoming less true for more people. And when I turned 30, my life, I went on this journey of self-discovery that probably should have happened a longer time ago. But I was talking to a friend of mine who took me to get my driver's license when I was, I think, 20, maybe 19. And we were just kind of talking and catching up on like the last 10 years of not having, been in communication. And what I realized is, I said a lot of us, it was almost like we had our head down and we were scrolling social media, we're doing MySpace, we're doing Facebook, we're doing all of these things. And then and life is going by, time is passing us by. And before we know it, we stop and somebody calls our name and says, hey, and you look up and you're like, oh crap, I'm 30, it's time to live life. Oh, I'm a parent. Oh, I'm a spouse. Oh, I'm responsible for other people. And I don't think there was, not for everybody, again, take what I'm saying with a grain of salt, but for a lot of people, there was this stagnance in our growth in certain areas because we weren't trained or developed in those areas. We kind of just got thrown into them. So for me, there were a lot of things, particularly in the area of human relationships, friendships, romantic relationships. There were a lot of things that were untapped for me because, for me, I grew up, I've always had a crush, okay? Always had a crush, one thing I will have. But I didn't have a lot of relationships growing up because I knew I'm waiting till marriage, and if you're not my husband, I'm not wasting my time. So growing up, I just was like, not interested. Even if I was interested, if I knew you were not my husband, like now, next, right? So I got married when I was 23 years old, and we're going to talk more about that later on in the video. But I got married when I was 23 years old, and then I was divorced by 25. And I had an 8-month-old when I got divorced. And so there were a lot of things, and then I've been single since 25. Do you know what I'm saying? So there were a lot of things developmental-wise in regards to relationships in particular that I didn't have the time to really process. Now, if you know Farrah LaRae, you know she's a boss babe, kills it in the boardroom, makes deals, makes things happen. I'm a publicist by trade, turn my clients' lives upside down. Incredible mother. There's all of these different things when it comes to music, ministry, all of the things that I do, writing books, whatever, you name it, I'm really, really good at it. But that's because I've spent most of my time practicing at those things. And so when I turned 30, I met someone who I thought I'd spend the rest of my life with. Womp, 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 womp. God said not so. But I learned a lot through that experience. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about relationships. I learned a lot about people, and I learned a lot about men. So for me, there was this rapid development, again, in terms of human relationships and even friendships. There were a lot of people that I thought were my friend that I'm seeing like, oh, hold on a second. Do you know what I'm saying? So that 30 was a really big learning, an expedited lesson for me in regards to relationships, where again, I thought I'd be married by 30, at least have 5 kids by now. I still only have my one, God bless her soul. But I did not expect my life to go in that direction. But my 30th year, I've got to say, has probably been my favorite so far because of how much I learned, because of how much I grew, because of how much I evolved, even in the way that I see myself, in the way that I see others, and in the way that I see relationships. So, for example, 25, 24, 14, 15, 16, whatever year old Farrah would have looked at the last relationship I was in as like, oh my God, like you have all of these like negative and unnecessary thought processes or whatever the case may be during a breakup. Well, this relationship taught me like, just because you aren't good for each other doesn't mean that you have to hate each other. Doesn't mean you have to bash each other. And I think there's this really toxic conversation that happens when a breakup takes place. Sometimes God brings people into your life to help prune you, to help bring something out of you, to help bring something to you. And so that relationship, he's such an amazing person. I really just have to say that. Full of crap sometimes, but such an amazing person, taught me so much, was such a loving, giving, thoughtful person, saw me for me, like beyond the performance of social media or being in front of the people, being up on a stage, whatever, like saw me and loved every ounce of me. And even at the end was like, look, you're going to be so successful and I'm rooting for you and I'm proud of you and I love you and things like that. And so that was something I had never experienced. You know, when you start talking to somebody, it's like, nah, you know, but this person was just tender all the way through. And it taught me something so important and valuable about parting ways with people. Like, it doesn't have to be toxic. It doesn't have to be damaging, but it can be amicable, first of all, and it could be okay, you know? And so for me, and I'm not even giving you guys the fullness. There's so many lessons that I can't even sit here and explain to you that I learned. But my 30th year was that of extreme development, growth, emotional maturity, spiritual maturity. And so I'm incredibly grateful. So a lot of those lessons I thought I would have learned back at 25, back at 23. And in a lot of cases at times I did think I had learned those, but it wasn't until this past year of my life that those things started to come together. So don't feel behind if you're still growing and developing emotionally and maturing even spiritually. Okay. And let me just say this before we move on. God is not grading your life against someone else's timeline. Like, you cannot be in a rush to be like this person because when they turned 30, they had all these things figured out. Yeah, but their life was also probably set up very differently. I like to equate this a lot of times to like our parents and our grandparents. Their generations were so different. They had to grow up. There was almost no opportunity to linger in adolescence. That's what my friend called it, prolonged adolescence. They didn't have that luxury. We had it because our parents, you know, a lot of us grew up with a silver spoon in our mouth, and if not a full silver spoon, you had parents who were busting it and didn't really make you work, didn't make you get up and go get it. They brought everything to you. And a lot of us grew up sheltered and had amazing parents or an amazing parent who made sure that the lights were on, who made sure that the bills were paid, who made sure we had sneakers and this and this and that. And so a lot of us didn't have an opportunity to grow as quickly as our parents or as our grandparents or as our great grandparents because their responsibilities were more dramatic before 30. You know, I remember my dad was 21, 20. Well, I'll say the year I was born. My dad was 25, and we look back on home videos or like his preaching videos. I'm like, you looked like an old man. And when we were kids, we thought they were so old. They were in their mid-20s. My parents were pastoring 3 churches, had 8 kids, worked very extreme. I said this in my last vlog, worked very extremely high at the national church level at 30 years old. I couldn't imagine. Mind you, the churches that they had were in 3 different cities. So we're talking about airplanes every week or every other week. We're talking about 3 separate groups of teams, 3 separate groups of membership, 3 separate groups of individual problems, 3 separate groups of rent or mortgage, 3 separate, like, all of these on top of running a child care center, on top of having a clothing store, on top of helping girls that dropped out of school get their GED and further their education, get job placement. Like, my parents were saving the world at 30. I barely got through this last year. I barely slid into 31. Do you understand? Do you understand? So our parents and our grandparents and our great-grandparents, their lives were set up completely different. And in the same way, so is someone else's. So a lot of us feel like, oh, I should be married by 30. Why? Why do you think that? Because your parents were already married at 30? Yeah, babe, they also started at 16. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's just a different day. So don't compare your life and your timing to someone else's. Like, God is not worried about their life when it comes to you. He's worried about you, your life, his plan for it, and the timing. Okay? All right. Let's talk about why I moved back in with my parents at 30 years old. This one is wild because this decision was not easy. I've been on my own. I said this again also in my last vlog. When I moved out of my parents' house, I moved because I got married. So that was our rule in our house. You don't move till you get married. And I'm going to be honest with you. I had a plan. I was like, either I'm getting married or I'm moving out, but I didn't know how to move out. And so the opportunity presented itself to get married, and that's what I did. I think I could have waited a little bit longer, but here we are. I have my own opinions on my life, okay? But if nothing else, I'm thankful because I got my baby, and that's my rider. My friend used to say she's the realest one on the team. But when I moved out, it was because I got married, and I told myself always when I was young, when you move out, don't come back. Because, I saw a lot of people in transition when I was growing up, moving back in with their parents, or some came and lived with us, or other people from church. And I was like, I don't want to do that, and not that I was passing judgment. I just knew it wasn't what I wanted for me. And so I decided when I moved out, I wasn't coming back. So after I finally decided that I was going to get divorced, again, I was 23 when I got married, 25 when I got divorced. I got my first apartment by myself, and it was just me and my baby. And I did that for 5 years. And finally, I was in a situation. Now, here's the other thing. Don't just move home because you just let me just go home. God led me back because I wasn't going to. And I was in prayer, and there were some things I was waiting on the Lord to open up. He hadn't opened them up yet. And I'm like, Lord, what are we doing? And I was in prayer, and I'm like, you're not giving me guidance. What am I supposed to do right now? My sister had just moved to LA, and she was with my parents before that. And so now I know, they're not going to have the support that they had with her here. So there's just all of these different things. And I was in prayer at 2 a.m. I was like, Lord, you're not saying anything. What am I supposed to do? And I literally heard at 2 a.m, it was like maybe 2:15 by now. I keep it in my prayer journal. I started praying at 2. By 2:15, the Lord says, start packing. I literally jumped up out of my bed and I started packing. Now, here's a crazy thing. In 2022, when I broke my ankle, and I talk about this in a video, I have a playlist on here, a 3-part series of me, how I broke my ankle. In that video, I talk about how the Lord had told me to start packing to move from Arizona to Houston. And I kind of drug my feet on that. And then I ended up breaking my ankle and all this other stuff. And then I didn't even get to pack my own stuff and blah, 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 blah. So when I heard the voice of the Lord, this go round, I was not sleeping on the Holy Spirit, okay? So I heard the Lord say, start packing. I jump up and I begin packing my house. Lord told me, go on Walmart, order some boxes. He told me how many boxes to order some giant garbage bag, like industrial garbage bags, order regular trash bags, order detergent, cleaning stuff. Like the Lord literally gave me a grocery list on everything that I needed to be able to clean up, pack, move out, whatever. He told me order white tape so that you can label the bags, the industrial bags. And it made my move so seamless. And I don't think I've ever moved myself by myself before, because when I moved out and got married, I had all 3 of my brothers, and my husband then. And then when I moved out by myself, my brothers helped me and a couple of friends from Vegas. And then moving to Houston, my mom and my brothers. So this was my first time. So even the Lord giving me strategy like that blew my mind, because I'm like, I've never done this. I've helped pack, my family's stuff, commuting, relocating, whatever. The way that the Lord outlined it for me and made it so plain to me was remarkable. Okay. So I had an opportunity in that moment to decide, am I going to walk in pride or use wisdom? And honey, as you saw, I didn't wait, because in the last time that the Lord told me to go, and at that time I was 26, 27 maybe, I drug my feet. And I was like, I didn't think I was going to break my ankle again. You know what I mean? But you never know what God is saving you from or doing for you in your life. So another reason is choosing financial stability. My dad was like, look, this is an opportunity for you to come home. You've been taking care of yourself and everybody else. Like, let us take care of you. Come here, save some money, whatever the case may be. So I was like, you know what? Sure. And this was an opportunity that my dad has proposed plenty of times. And I was like, I think I'm gonna thug it out and do my own thing out here. But when I tell you that not having to pay rent right now is stunning. It's lovely. But the Lord did give me wisdom. He said, put it up as if you are, so that when the time comes, you have what you need for whatever you need it for. Somebody will get that tomorrow. But financial stability, giving me an opportunity to save up a nest egg and do all kind of stuff, put money into savings, build my credit, just get organized. I also didn't have a car for a really long time. Again, I broke my ankle, so I didn't really need one. So I told him, come pick it up, but finally I was able to get a car again and, have that flexibility to move around a lot more like I want to. So there was a lot of different reasons and also perks that came with it. For me, my mom and my daughter are extremely close. And so it helped me, that they get to hang out. And then also, I don't mean to say this in a degrading way, okay? So take it with a grain of salt. My parents, they know me, they get me. But I don't want you to take it and be like, oh yes, but girl, I got a built-in babysitter. I got a built-in babysitter. So, but my parents help out with my daughter, which I absolutely love. I'm able to go to the gym and not worry about, waking her up to come with me. I've done that in the past. 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm like, come on, baby. And she'll go sit with me. You're not supposed to have kids at the gym. Thank God my team be looking out. But she'll come with me to the gym or whatever the case may be, or, I just have to work out at home. It just depends on the scenario and the season and the time or whatever. But being here, it gives me an opportunity where they're like, yeah, just go, we got her. And I love that for us. Another major reason of why I moved back in with my parents at 30 is because it gives me an opportunity to lay a more solid foundation for my future. Like I said, when I got married, I don't think I was ready. I think in my mind I was ready, but there was still so much life that I hadn't lived, so much I hadn't done or experienced or even understood about myself that, man, when you have two people who have done the work to discover who they are, what they like, what they don't like, what they'll tolerate, what they won't. When you have two people that come together with that mindset and they're forward thinking about legacy, incredible things can happen. But I think what happens is a lot of people, myself included, will get married as a form of escape or as a form of trying to start your life. That's what, and in my case, I'm like, well, if I can't do anything until I get married, then I'm gonna need to have to get married. And I don't think I was ready for marriage in more ways than one. I'll say it like that. I thought I was ready, but again, that's because that was the perception of what I was supposed to do and not necessarily what I wanted to do. And so I tell people this all of the time now, like, if you can wait. Take your time. Take your time. What's the rush? You don't have to rush yourself into getting married. Now, don't try, do your best. Don't be shacking. But don't rush yourself into marriage, because marriage is a really big responsibility. Marriage is a commitment. It's a covenant. I hate the fact that I broke a covenant that I made in the sight of God. That bothers me. God, I tell him all the time, you're gonna have to work with me because I know you forgave me, but you're gonna have to help me, because I really do hate that I broke a covenant. So marriage is not a joke. It is not something to be taken lightly. It is something that is holy. It is something that is an example of our relationship with God. And the thing about marriage, there are growing pains. There are times that you're going to have to crucify your flesh and just submit to the greater cause of the marriage or of the family or of whatever God is calling you guys to do. So marriage, while I still believe in it and I love it, and I do believe God's going to give it to me another time. Give me another chance, God. But I went through whatever I went through with the perception. Now, that's another reason why I would say take your time, because once you grow and you become more emotionally mature, you see things differently. And so where, someone who's not exactly ready for marriage might be like, I'm out at the first sign of danger. And I don't mean danger, but you know what I'm saying? Like at the first sign of like, oh, you're doing too much. Like this isn't just a traditional boyfriend-girlfriend breakup. We're talking about a soul tie. We're talking about breaking covenant. We're talking about destroying the future of a family's legacy, So that's so much more that we can go into that I'll save. Maybe we'll do another video. Comment below and let me know if you want to hear, more on that conversation. But marriage is something that is sacred. And so instead of getting married, what I probably should have done was started working towards building or laying a solid foundation for my future. And now, I'm at the place where I'm able to do that. And I don't think that you should feel bad about having to start over. The enemy was really trying to play with me about that, of like feeling bad, but it was like I had an angel and a devil on both sides, and it was like this side's like, girl, you starting over, you 30 and you going back and this and this and this. But the Holy Spirit was comforting me all the way through. It was like, yeah, but here's the perks. Yeah, but X, Y, and Z. So don't feel bad about yourself if you do feel like you have to start over. And move home or get a different job or whatever. And the biggest thing too is you're not even starting over, like maybe in the physical aspect, but you've learned so much. You've grown so much. You've developed new habits, new ideas, new friendships, relationships, things that will carry you as you're moving into this new season. So I don't even look at it as I'm starting from square A. No, you're literally not. You have tools that you didn't have in the beginning. You have knowledge and wisdom that you didn't have before. Now it's your job to do right by them. Right? The Bible says to those who know to do right and do it not, it's a sin. You didn't know back then. You didn't have the mental capacity. You didn't have the knowledge, the know-how, the tools or resources. You didn't have the abilities that you have now. Like, you know better now. So do better this time so that you don't have to start over. Next time it will be starting over. But if you're in a place where you're starting over, or it feels like, oh my gosh, I'm going back to the drawing board, that's okay. Don't be upset about that, okay? All right. The next thing I want to talk about when it comes to starting over, we'll use that word, so to speak, starting over in your 30s, things no one talks about. For me, I made a decision to recommit myself to, number one, first, foremost, and most importantly, to God, rededicating myself in my walk with God, understanding that the commitment I made at 15 years old means very little at 30. The decisions that I was making back then, they don't have anything to do with the person that I am today. Today is about a new covenant. Today is about a recommitment, a rededication. Today is about a restructuring of even my approach in my relationship to God. The Bible says, when I was a child, I thought as a child, I did as a child. But now that I'm grown, I put away childish things. The Lord brought that scripture to me because I remember one day, I think this was a little bit after I turned 30, and I was throwing a little mental tantrum, and I'm complaining, well, Lord, this and that, and something didn't go my way, and blah, 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 blah. And the Lord brought me that scripture. When I was a child, I thought as a child, I did as a child, but now that I'm a grown, I will put away childish things. The Lord said, you have to put away childish things. Growing up, I thought, when I turn 30, it'll naturally go away. No, you have to work at it. You have to get up, you have to get dressed, you have to go to the gym. You have to go in your kitchen, you have to meal prep. You have to sit in your room and read your word. You have to pray, you have to intercede. You have to pray over your home. You have to cover your family. Like, those things don't just come on. Those are habits that you develop over time by making a choice, by committing to do those things. They don't just happen overnight. And I thought they would. I thought, I'll turn 30 and everything will be fine. And so what we have to do is put off the old, put on the new, and make a commitment that at this place, at this age, in this time, I'm going to do better. I'm going to just do it. There's nothing standing in your way. Before, you could blame the fact that your parents didn't let you use their car, or you didn't have a job and so you didn't have money. No, now you do have a job, but you're still not saving. What's the excuse? Or your bills are not on time. What's your excuse? Now you are in a relationship and you're dogging your partner, just tearing them down, but you know how to speak well. You know how to be kind. You know how to be forgiving. So what's your excuse? Do you see what I'm saying? Now that we're grown, we have to put away childish things. And that starts with building new habits, building new appetites. The Bible says, how can a young man cleanse his ways? By fasting, by praying, and taking heed to the word of God. So it's our job to recommit. For me, it's always been easy to pour into everyone else. Girl. and I was the queen of it. Now I'm like, look, the 5% battery I'm on is for me. I can't give you this. And that consists of me scrolling TikTok and watching Full House. Like, I have to know my limits at this point. When I was younger, I had so much energy, so much time, so much opportunity to pour into other people, and I did it. And I can gladly say that I did it. And now that I'm older, I have to be mindful of where I'm pouring, what seeds I'm watering, what seeds I'm planting. Because my commitment to me, to God, to my health goals, to my baby, to all of the things that God has given me to do, like, they require me to have me. So my commitment was not just to God only, but it was also to my businesses. I have a lot of businesses, y'all know that. And I have kind of compartmentalized them into an enterprise. So they're different divisions or subsidiaries of my enterprise, my corporation. But I've allowed myself to get so caught up in worrying about everybody else's, remember, going back to that whole pouring into everyone else, that I have put me aside. And I've decided, you know what? No more of that. I am recommitting myself to my dreams, to my goals, to the things that God has given me to do. Sometimes we think, oh, I'm 30, my life is over, or when I turn 30, my dream is too late to dream. No. This is probably a better time. 30 is the new 20. I want to say that, and not only because I'm 31, but because I'm looking at the way life is, the way that our growth and our development is more stagnant and fragmented than, again, our parents or our grandparents was. So 30 is an opportunity to say, I'm going to recommit to my dreams, my goals, my plans, my vision, the things that I know that God promised me that I would do in the earth. So what I've done is I have given myself permission to become my own project. I was talking to my cousin one day, and he said, you have to fall in love with the process. We were talking about working out and going to the gym. I told him I just started working out again, and he's a gym freak in general. That's his thing, right? But he was telling me you have to fall in love with the process, meaning don't get so caught up on the result or the end goal of what you're trying to achieve that you miss out on enjoying the process, watching yourself become more disciplined, watching yourself commit to yourself, watching yourself do the thing that you said you were going to do, watching yourself building community and friendships around this new habit or this new routine or goal or whatever that looks like. So I have committed myself to being my own project and falling in love with the process and not looking for the result right away. Give myself 3 months, 6 months, 10 months even, before I give up on something that I know is in my heart to do. Just because you don't see the results overnight and you feel like, oh, I'm too old to do this. No, that's a lie from the pit of hell. You have all the time in the world, not to lag, not to sit around, but to be busy, to be about your Father's business. The next thing I have committed to is rebuilding my businesses with intention. So like I said, there's so many things that I've learned after being in business 11 years now. And I'm excited to take things up a notch, kind of reposition myself so that I am seeing the full growth, the sustainability, and the benefit of all of the things I've learned, and not just go in a cycle or, repeat the same mistakes, but really propel into the place that I see my businesses. I remember when I was in school, I graduated when I was 15. I started college when I was 16. I started my business at 20, right after I graduated. I remember when I first started going to college, I was going just for general studies. I knew I wanted a degree in business because eventually I wanted to have a business. But there were so many math classes and I was not with it. So I was ready to give up, and I talked to my dad about it. And I was like, I'm dropping out of school. And he's like, no, you're not. And I was like, yes, I am. And he's like, well, why don't you just pursue a degree in PR and marketing? He's like, I think you'd like that. Do you know what a publicist is? And I was like, no, I've never heard of a publicist. And he's like, look it up, do some research, see what you think, and then we'll go from there. And if you don't like that, then we'll figure it out. Well, I did my research, and I fell in love because I was like, I felt like I was naturally a publicist anyway. I was always hosting events. I was always networking and connecting like-minded people. I was always helping launch initiatives and projects. I was volunteering at the school and at different nonprofits. And so it felt like my natural sphere of influence. And I dove face first, again, no foundation, but all passion and love and intrigue. And I dove face first and I started my agency a couple of months after I graduated from college. And so for me, the last 11 years of my life have afforded me some really amazing opportunities. But now I want to be intentional. And I commend myself because they say that businesses aren't really businesses unless they've passed the 5-year mark. And then once they've passed the 10-year mark, you can almost guarantee their longevity. But I remember when I was in school and I decided I was going to have an agency someday, I remember praying and I told God, I want to have a PR and marketing agency that outlives me, where my great grandchildren can work in the agency, have an opportunity to be in the industry. If they just need a job, they can come mop floors if they need to. But I remember telling the Lord I wanted something that was going to outlive me for generations to come. And so what better time than now at 31 to say, okay, this is what that's going to look like. Now we've learned all these lessons. We've gained all this insight. We've touched all of these different industries. We've, worked with all of these different people. Now I know what we want. Now I know where we're going. And it feels like 10 years is such a long time, or 11, it feels like such a long time, but it's really not when you look at all of the things that our lives are made up of. You weren't just focused on a business for the last 11 years. I was also preparing for a marriage, in the marriage, divorced, preparing for a baby, pregnant, had the baby, postpartum, living in one city, then another city, making movies and TV shows and working. Like, you have to think about all of the things that you've been doing for the last 10 years that brought you to 30 or however old you are watching. You have to think about all of the different things that went into these last X amount of years of your life and give yourself some grace and realize, no, I actually didn't have all the time I needed to learn or to invest in that thing. And now that I know, now that the last 10 years have given me that experience, now it's just time to take things a step further. This also gives me an opportunity to reevaluate. Again, what have we learned? How have we grown? What have we decided that we will not do in business? What is the things that we decided work in business? So it's a really great time to reevaluate your life once you hit 30. Let's see. The next thing, probably one of my favorites right now, is my health and wellness reset. Okay. So life be lifing. Okay. You gain weight, you lose weight. You might have a sickness or injury or some sort of thing that takes place that offsets you, your body, your mind. A lot of us had COVID. So there's so many things that have taken place just in the last few years that have, kind of offset us. When I turned 30, I was like, I gotta get in the gym. I have to be committed to my goals. I have to lose this weight because, honey, okay? So my health and wellness goals are something that's big on my list for 30 and beyond. And I think it plays into the bigger picture of deciding to choose myself again. Because what I've noticed in me going to the gym, showing up every morning, I'm like, that's the thing. I'm not letting nobody touch that. I don't care what you're doing, what you need me for, what you're up to. I have to go to the gym. That's my thing for me. No one in this world, I need you guys to hear me really loud and clear. No one in this world can work out for you. Someone else can take out the trash. Someone else can do the laundry. Someone else can help around the house. Someone else can help at the job. Someone else can help in your business. Someone else can help with the kids. There is no single person on this entire earth, even in the spirit realm, who can work out for you. So it becomes your sole responsibility to get up and go to the gym, do what you got to do, lose that weight, get energized, build your discipline and your endurance That's on you. Literally no one else can do that in the world. So your fitness, nutrition, whether that's your exercise, whether that's walking, Pilates, going to the gym, whatever the thing is that you can commit to for you, you have to do that, because literally no one else can do that for you. Your health isn't punishment, by the way. It's a major form of self-respect. Taking care of yourself. Better to take care of yourself now. Okay, fine, you didn't do it the last 10 years, whatever. Today, at 30, at 29, getting ready to be 30, wherever you are, today, make the decision to take care of yourself, because if you take care of yourself now, God's willing, you won't have to be on a bunch of medication and overweight or obese, going through stuff, barely can breathe, can't get out the bed, can't walk. You won't have to deal with all of that 10, 20 years from where we sit today. All right? So, FYI. Okay, another thing that no one tells you is you really start to enjoy your life again. You really get to a place where you're like, hold on, I'm grown. Don't talk to me like that. Lower your voice. You get to a point where you're like, you know what? This is a fresh start. This is a new chapter. This is a new beginning. I don't have to be bound by my past. Okay, it happened, or it didn't happen. It didn't go according to plan. Fine. We are starting fresh and we are enjoying our life moving forward. Okay. For me, my achievement became my identity at one point. And I took a step back and I started to examine my why. I started asking myself why a lot more. Well, why do you do this? Well, why do you keep showing up for them and they've not once shown up for you? Why do you feel the need to do this? Why are you so consistent at that, but not at that? I started asking myself why. I started asking myself the deeper question. Like, you ask this question, you get that answer. Okay, but why that? Okay, now why that? Like, I go all the way down until I get to the root of it to understand how we ended up here. So for me, achievement equaled love. It equaled being seen or heard. It equaled validation. It equaled, I don't know what other word I can say that I haven't already said. For me, it was an algorithm. I'm telling you, I lived like an algorithm. If this, then that. And while I will say I've always tried to be very authentic, very me, I'm not sitting here saying that I've been fake my whole life. No, I have been Farrah LeRae through and through. But what I'm saying is there are certain things, for example, when it comes to achievement, I may not have wanted to do something for someone. I may have wanted to do something for me instead. But if in the back of my mind, doing for me made me think that I was going to lose their love, I did it. Does that make sense? And I think there's a lot of people who struggle with that because you either didn't feel seen or heard or loved or understood or wanted at a point, but you saw what turning flips and chasing your tail did for other people. So you stayed the little sideshow. You got comfortable being the thing that entertains people. But deep down inside, you were hurting. You were sad. You were broken. You felt lonely. That's the other unfortunate thing about performative living. You don't ever really feel fulfilled. You just don't want the disappointment of other people. Honey, let me tell you something. It's bad. I'm at the point now, I'm like, I don't care. I don't care. And it's not in a mean way, but I'm sure my parents get so tired of me and I don't care. I don't care. Because I know they love me anyway, but I'd be like, look, I'm not doing it. No. Like, I had to get to this point because I realized Dr. Mike Murdoch, he says our decisions decide our wealth, right? And if you aren't wealthy, it's because of the decisions you made, right? I'm adding that part on. But I look at the decisions that I've made to appease other people and what that took from me. And I will say, honestly, too, having a daughter has shown me that even more for two reasons. The first reason is I would not be okay sitting around watching her perform for other people's benefit when I know that it's hurting her. I'm not doing it. I'll be like, nope, get it yourself, do it yourself, go yourself. No, I'm not going to let that happen to my baby. And I had a really hard conversation one day and I'm like, if you wouldn't want her doing it, why are you? If you wouldn't want her in that situation, why do you put yourself in that situation? Like, having my baby has really taught me another level of self-love and value and respect that I struggled to find for years. Like, yeah, for a long time, I think. And so now I'm like, if I'm not gonna let nobody treat her any kind of way, I ain't not let nobody treat me kind of way. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is, we cannot, they could get away back in the day with do as I say, not as I do. Our kids are not going for it, bro. They're like, no, either you be it or that's it. And so I understood I had to live by example. I had to show her, this is what this looks like to value yourself, to love yourself, to choose yourself, to be surrendered to God, to make tough decisions even when it doesn't feel good, but it's the better decision for the greater good. So these are things that I've learned in my journey over the last however many years, but I've really started to grasp since 30. Another thing is learning to be present, being okay with putting the phone face down, being in the moment, put on Do Not Disturb. They get so tired of me and my Do Not Disturb. When I tell you the saints, they cannot stand Farrah on Do Not Disturb because I do not want to be disturbed. I'm enjoying my life. I'm enjoying what I'm doing. If I'm in the middle of a workflow or working on something for myself, if I'm at the gym, I'm on do not call me, do not text me, call the cops. Call 911, call Jesus. And I used to be Johnny on the spot. So there are still a lot of people who are being trained right now. Like, oh, I can't just call her all hours of the night. Or if I need something from her, I need to submit it 10 weeks in advance of when I need it because she's not dropping what she's doing to do for me anymore. I'm not. And it's a sad reality for them, unfortunately, because I've trained them to think that was okay to do to me, clients included. But I'm not doing it, honey. No, I probably stopped doing this within the last 2 years. Life isn't something you earn after you succeed. It's happening right now. You don't get the reward of a good life. You have to find ways to create that and to feel that within yourself now. Don't just sit around waiting for things to get good. You got to make them good. You got to create. My mom tells us all the time that when we were kids, the Lord told her to create memories for us. And she started taking us to the beach, taking us roller skating, doing little things at the house. Like, you have to create that for yourself. And if you have children, you have to create it for them too. You can't just expect that things are just going to happen. Like, we're the adults now. Okay. So we have to set up the Christmas tree. We have to take the kids. Well, a lot of us don't believe in trick or treating, but if you believe in trick or treating, but like, we have to do the things that our parents did for us, or the things that, children should be able to experience. It's our job. It's our responsibility to do that for them. It's our responsibility to take care of ourselves and to treat ourselves with such love and tenderness and concern. The same way that if you're a woman and you have a man, you want to pour into him, you want to love on him, you want to do everything, you want to cook and clean and buy him gifts. And girl, when I tell you the stuff I've done for men, I'm like, I bought brand new computers. Ain't ever had a computer in your life. You want a MacBook? Okay. Like Johnny on the spot. I'm telling you, I was doing all kind of stuff in the name of love. Honey, no. I'm not lifting a finger. Dear future husband, I'm not lifting a finger, bro. Like, you come get me and it is what it is, or leave me alone, but don't ask me for nothing. Like, I'm going to be praying and interceding, raising the babies, but don't ask me for nothing. We're hiring a maid. We're hiring a chef. Okay, we're getting into relationships in just a second here, but if you're still watching, leave a comment below. Thanks for being here. But honestly, the way that you would pour into someone that you love, pour into yourself. Like, it's your job, no one else's. And the other thing is this, I think too, a lot of times when it does come to relationships, we are waiting for someone to whisk us off of our feet and just treat us so good and love us and do for us what we do for everyone else. No, because the thing about that is they're going to have their moments too. They're going to have their off days too. And we can't be so angry with the person God has blessed us with because they're having an off day and they can't shower us with gifts. Like, we have to still be wise and say, well, this is my cup and it's empty and I need to fill it. So what can I do to do that? Okay, I need to spend time in prayer. I need to spend time in my word. I need to go to the gym. I need to eat healthier. I need to take my vitamins. Like, we have to do those things too. You can't just expect that when you get married or you get in a relationship that's solid enough that you don't have to worry about you no more. Yes and no. So again, another conversation for another day. Up next, another favorite topic of mine is things no one talks about when you are in your 30s is friendships, community, and finding your people. A lot of the friendships that we develop in our teen or preteen years, we try to keep them, and then they'll kind of trickle over into our 20s, and then some will stay, some will go. But in our 30s, I think this is a really defining space that we're in where we can decide the type of people that we want to be our lifers, the people that in 50 years, we want to still be calling and inviting over for dinner. A lot of the friendships that we develop in our adolescence were default. People you happen to go to church with, people that happen to be in your class, or even in college, people that you happen to be in school with, you happen to share a dorm room with. Like, those are all default friendships. When you get into your 30s, this is an opportunity for you to cultivate the relationships and the friendships with the type of people that you would want to be like. People who are whatever you would define that as. For me, I want to be with people who are committed, people who do what they say, they keep their word, people who have integrity, meaning they're not just doing the right thing because I'm watching, but they're doing it even behind my back. They're praying for me. They're covering me in prayer. It's taking me to the Lord when they know I'm going through something. People who are understanding because I am very busy. I have a friend, Juanita. Shout out Juanita. I talk about her all the time. I think I mentioned her in the last 2 vlogs. But I love my Juanita. But she and I, when we first met, I ghosted her, you guys. And not on purpose. I was just so busy. And then months had gone by, I think. And by the time I was reaching back out, I was like, do you want to come to my wedding? And I think when we met, I wasn't even in a relationship. Like, next time I'm reaching out, I'm like, hi, I'm engaged. Do you want to come to my... And she's like, I have a thing, but thank you. And then we ended up connecting, and we've been friends ever since. She really, truly is one of my best friends. But she and I are so understanding. Like, our life is complete chaos. She's extremely busy. I'm extremely busy. But the times that we get to carve out for each other are so timeless and important to us. Like, we protect those with our lives. And those are the kind of people I want to be around. People that aren't like, oh, I didn't hear from you. Okay. Do you know the weight of the world that is on my shoulder? You know? But when we do commit to let's get together, we stick to that plan. We go and have dinner or travel or whatever the thing is that we're going to do together, that we commit to that. So I can go on and on, but I think for you, I want you to sit down and really write down, what are those values? We do it a lot of times with romantic relationships, but very seldom do we do it about friendships and community. Also, I do run a community called the Elite Society. So if you're looking for sisterhood, babes, click the link below. Join the Elite Society today. Okay, I'm like moving right along. We're almost there, you guys. We have 3 more main points. I want to talk about relationships now. So divorce, healing, and dating again. So again, I got divorced at 25 years old. Been single since then, for real, for real. And I don't think I took the time. How do I want to say this? Because I took plenty of time to heal. I don't want to say that. But there were some habits that I developed within my relationship that I carried over into the next situationship, if that makes any sense. And so without really realizing it, I was punishing myself for things that had happened in the past instead of enjoying the relationship I was in and enjoying the moment. So sometimes we feel unworthy of healthy love, of sustainable love, of joyous love because of what we did to someone in the past, or maybe because of what someone did to us in the past, and we've believed their lies of unworthiness or whatever the case may be, and then we punish ourselves. So for me, I had to unlearn the damage that was done in my previous relationship in order to enjoy the one that I was in. And again, although we ended things the way that we did, I'm thankful that I now have that perspective, because my next relationship will be my last. Like, I'm going to be extremely happily married, you guys. I'm never getting divorced. We're going to be insanely obsessed with each other. It's going to be perfect. So I'm thankful that I had the opportunity to learn all of those lessons so that when I do walk into my forever promise, that we're going to have the best time of our lives. Dear future husband, get ready, because I'm crazy. It's going to be great. So for me, I have prioritized me. And ladies, the faster you realize this, the better off you'll be. Men are not healthy men, healed men, saved men who are genuinely trying to live right, are not as interested in a woman who are going to be utterly obsessed with them alone as they are with women who are utterly obsessed with themselves. They want to know that you have a personal relationship with God and that you mean it. Not that you're saying it for the sake of trying to be in a relationship, but that you genuinely know God, because that man understands that at some point he is going to need the intercession of his wife to pull down heaven on behalf of their family, their children, his mama, his daddy. So again, the men that are all of those things that I stated, they are very seldom looking for a woman that is just, oh, it's just about you. No, they want to know that you care about your body, your health goals. They want to know that you are committed and keep your word about you. It's almost like on a psychological level, people care about what people care about. And people don't care about what people don't care about. So the less he sees you taking care of yourself and loving on yourself and being about yourself and healing yourself and, you know, doing you, then he's going to be like, okay, yeah, she ain't really, yeah, you right. That's how it feels. Like, you right. You are trash. That's how they feel. And even though they may never verbalize that and maybe never even really fully think that on a subconscious level, if you don't care about you, they're definitely not going to care about you. So become obsessed with yourself. Love yourself. Figure out your non-negotiables. Figure out what you will and won't stand for. And I'm not saying be superficial. He better drive a Bentley. He better drive a Rolls Royce and have a personal driver. Girl, please. Do you drive a Rolls Royce and have a personal driver? You know what I'm saying? Like, be so for real. But there are things like being a true man of God, being a man of his word, being a man with intention, being a man of passion, being a man who cares about other people, a man who takes care of his family and his responsibilities, a man who has his finances in order, a man who is consistent, a man, like, lay those sorts of things out and decide. Just like I said about friendship, what does that look like? What do you want in solid friendship, community, lifelong friends? In the same way, in a relationship, what do you want? What do you truly want? What do you want? It's not that easy. What do you want? Decide that and sit down and be realistic with yourself. Because sometimes too, we say that we want something because it's what someone else would want for us and not because it's what we want for ourselves. Be real with yourself. Be honest with yourself. There's a lot of people who are like, oh, I don't want nobody with tattoos. But you want somebody with tattoos. That's okay. Because he already got them before he was saved. Like, God's delivered him now, you know? But like, be honest. I mean, I don't necessarily want anybody with tattoos. Like, shout out to all the men with tattoos. I don't necessarily think that's something I want in my life. But I mean, if God sends them, then I guess I'll make a video. I'll have to eat my words. But that's never been a desire of mine. Do you see what I'm saying? So understand, because if you don't know, what's the word? Thomas Edison, I think it was. Girl, please. Alexander Hamilton, my favorite. How could I forget? If you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. So if you don't have a standard on the type of people that you're willing to entertain, you'll just take anything. If you're like, I want a man who is committed. I want a man who keeps his word. And you start talking to somebody and he doesn't call you when he says he's going to, you know, okay, let me back up out of this thing. I actually had a situation like that. There was a guy, he kept claiming that I was his wife. And never really fully made intentional like effort to see me in person, living in the same city and everything. Long story short, would always say like, I'm going to call, and never would call, and all of these things. And so finally one day he texted me and I was like, yeah, this isn't going to work for me, because you always say you're going to call. You don't. You haven't yet planned a date. Like all of these things. And the part of me that used to seek validation might have stuck around a little longer just to see, okay, how's it going to play out? But baby, no, not around here, partner. Not around here. And I told him, and he said, you know, I respect that. Thank you. Like, I wish you the best, whatever. But you have to decide, what do you want? What is the type of man that you want your children to look up to? What kind of sons do you want? That's going to be their first example of a man, is who their daddy is. So we're beating a dead horse, but yes, healing is productive. Single is not a waiting room. It is not a being on standby. It is not a you are neglected or unworthy or undesirable. The devil is a liar. It's your time for you to fully process and become all of the things that God has called you to be, so that when you do get in a relationship, it can last forever and you don't end up divorced with a 8-month-old. I love throwing shots at myself. I don't know why, but it's so fun to me. Okay. Another thing that people don't talk about, just quickly on the heels of relationships, is how much your standards change. My standards have changed so much. There's a lot of stuff I used to take that now I'm like, no. And one of my good friends, Sean, another one of my really close friends, she always says, no is a complete sentence. You don't even have to give a reason. No, I don't want to. No, thank you. Move along. You don't have to lie. You don't have to make up no story. You don't got to say, oh, I'm married. Oh, I have a boyfriend. Girl, no. You don't want that man? No. Keep it walking. Keep it pushing. You don't owe nobody an explanation, unless you owe them an explanation, but you don't owe nobody an explanation. But my standards have evolved so much, and I respect myself for that. What else? The last thing that we'll talk about, if you made it this far, comment below, let me know, is trusting God's plan for the next season. I have learned so much to just trust God. I've had doors open. I've had doors close. I've had a lot of money. I've had negative accounts. I've had abundance around me. I've had little. I've had friends. I've felt lonely. I've all of these different transitions in life situations. And guess what? I've never seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. God has literally never failed me. And that gives me the courage that I need to say, all right, we're starting over at 30, but that doesn't mean that all of the work and the progress and the experiences were in vain. They were all a part of my journey to bring me where I am today and take me to where I'm supposed to be. So none of it is in vain. None of it was without purpose. You've learned, you've grown, you've evolved. You've created new habits for yourself. You've developed solid relationships. And if you haven't already, you're going to, because you're getting ready to be propelled into that next place. So 30 isn't a bad place to be. It's not a bad place. Do not despise aging. Do not despise growing. Do not despise reaching that next milestone. It's beautiful. If anything, it speaks to the longevity of your life. But what are you going to do with it? Are you going to let the last 10 years of your life be a waste? Or are you going to use it and say, okay, now I'm playing chess, not checkers. Now we in the big leagues. Now we big boys and girls. Now we can do something with our life that's going to matter in the end. You let me know. All right, tell me, guys, let's engage real quick. Comment below. Tell me, have you ever had to start over? Are you turning 30? Are you in your 30s? What area of your life do you feel like you're rebuilding right now? And what lessons has this season of your life taught you? I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I plan on doing more sit-down conversations like this with you guys because I think it's really important, and I believe it's a part of my assignment and what God has given me to do in this big age. So subscribe for more. Again, make sure you share, like, comment. Let me know you're here. Join the Forever Squad. We can be best friends forever. Comment below. Let me know if you're joining our squad, and join the Elite Society. The link is in the description box below. If you are a woman who is pursuing the things of God, who is passionate, who is full of life, maybe career or business driven, mom, entrepreneur, college student, whatever walk of life, if you're seeking a community of sisters who love the Lord and are pursuing all things Jesus Christ, join us. Head over to the description and click the link. But I love you guys, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.